My name is Kurt. I'm here with Trenton. This is SLB Basement Bourbon Bar, and today's show, Trenton, is the very first show with my brand new fancy hairdo.
I like it. I think it looks... I honestly think you pull it off pretty well.
Really?
I do.
Well, that's a nice compliment coming from you. Thank you very much.
I'm glad to have mine around this time. My beautiful locks of love, I guess you could call it. My thinning hair.
You can say that, yeah.
Yep.
Sure, you got a nice little fly thing going on this side today. It's beautiful.
Is that what it's good? I just rolled out of bed. I haven't done anything with it today. It's probably greasy and looks bad, but we're rolling with it.
For those of you that missed our live stream, let me just say, you missed it.
I can see the glare in the lens from your head.
Part of the deal with our charity live stream that we did in October was that I shaved my head. Now, I will tell you this. I did set some parameters.
Yeah.
My wife's a very good friend, Jill. They've been friends since childhood. She's a professional stylist. I did tell her I'm not doing like Trenton did the year before. Now, he did it the year before, and he went down to the skin.
I went full send. He did not.
I did not.
He put a guard on it.
I told her the smallest guard you got, she said, that's the number one guard. And I said, okay, that's fine. I'm just not going down to the skin. So I shaved my head. Trenton, he ended up waxing his armpits.
Yeah, they still feel weird.
It still sting a little bit for you?
Yeah.
So, but hey, it was all for the kids. Families and kids in need. We ended up raising a little over $200,000 for Riley's Children's Hospital. We will be in Indianapolis this coming Friday for the presentation, and I am super stoked. All the money is going to be given in honor of my late grandson, Michael. So that's going to be a thrill for me, and all because of our wonderful community. And you guys are just so giving, and it was just an amazing week, and I'll never forget it the rest of my life, to tell you the truth. So
yeah,
that gives you a little bit of idea on for those of you that missed it, why I got my new fancy haircut. So it wasn't really by choice, but that's okay. I do it all over again.
Well, good.
All right, Trenton, what are we doing for our video today? We talked different ideas, but I was pumped when you came up with this idea.
I think it was Justin's idea.
Yeah.
Well, so originally today we were going to do a little tour of Kurt's bar and mine. Turns out we don't have the personnel required to carry around this fancy microphone and the XLR recorder and the camera and like all this other stuff.
We will do it though. Shortly into January, we'll get it done for you.
Yeah. So I don't even remember what it is. We're going to be talking about like the most influential bottles throughout our whiskey, bourbon, spirits journey, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
Kind of show you guys how we got started, what the progression was over the past couple of years. Because it's been like 5 or 6 years for you, a little bit, like a year or less for me.
Sure. Yeah.
There's a lot happened during that time period.
And I'm excited about it because when you guys see what I'm bringing out here, you're all going to be going, I mean, but everybody's journey is their own personal journey. That doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's yours. Own it. I'm going to own mine today. You're going to see.
And these are not just, this is all bourbon, this is all whiskey. This is just whatever we got started on is what's in here. Yeah. We picked 5 of the ones that kind of stuck in our heads the most throughout what we had going on at the beginning. This is
legit 100% the truth, and I'll go ahead and start first.
I remember when this came home.
Yeah, the very first whiskey I ever bought. My brother got me involved in bourbon, right? Mm-hmm. He was in it for quite some time. He's one that actually can remember when you'd walk in and Blanton's would be right on the shelf.
Yeah.
No big deal, $40 or whatever it was back then. Yep, we got a whole shelf full of them, right? And so all this is new compared to what he started with. So I taste some. Now he told me my very first sip was a Crown Royal. I don't remember that. We were traveling somewhere, and he said, "I don't remember that. To tell you the truth, I really don't." I asked him what he had. He said, "This is by per Kent," and he said, "Well, this is Crown Royal on the rocks." And I said, "Okay, give me one of those." Well, I don't remember that quite, but I do specifically remember going into the liquor store in Maryville, right up there by the mall, Wise Guys.
There's a Wise Guys in Maryville?
Yes, there is.
Oh, Maryville.
That's before we got the one in Valpo, and I bought this bottle here. This is the very first whiskey purchase that I ever made. Bird Dog Peach Whiskey, and I'll never forget it as long as I live. Rebecca was with me. She can confirm. She's busy working, but if she was down here, she can confirm. As we're perusing the aisle, looking at bourbon that I know nothing about at that time, there was a guy there and I was looking at these here and he goes, "Oh, these are great. These are fantastic. I love the peach one the most, man. I took that home and I drank the whole thing and I woke up the next morning with the empty bottle laying on my stomach." And I thought, well, if it was that good, it must be that good then. And I bought it. So that's my first whiskey experience, and I know it's a flavored whiskey. Don't go down that whole rabbit hole. Don't do that. But for me, this is the actual first whiskey type product that I ever purchased.
Well, sorry, I'm yawning. It is 8:30.
Just not excited about my story.
No, I'm very excited. So is this the original bottle?
No.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say you must not have liked it that much because you don't have
Definitely
you don't have that much left.
Definitely not. No.
Taken out of it. I'm trying to think. Well, so I kind of got into it because you started kind of like my mind's all over the place. This never used to be a bar when we were kids. There were 5 kids living here. This was just like, it was roughed in. There was drywall right here. There was no countertop. There was like one of those plastic Costco tables in the corner, and there was a computer
This is all
on
the
it.
grandkids.
Yeah.
And there was a computer there, and this is
Yep.
all the grandkids' toys back here.
So the Kurt's office was my brother Corey's bedroom, and it's not his office. So he was talking about doing a bar, and he ended up doing it. And then we were coming over because he was mixing up cocktails, doing all this stuff, and I didn't even know you had it in you at that point. I hadn't seen him drink but a couple times in my entire life. I've known him for 20 years.
Right.
So the funny thing is that he was talking about this bottle that he had just got that was supposed to be really good. You know, he was talking about how much he paid for it, and I was like, okay, that's really cool to be able to try something that expensive. I was drinking like berry lemon Smirnoff in college. I was drinking UV blue, and that was like proofy to me at the time. And I would wake up with stomach aches and all this stuff because there's so much sugar in that stuff.
I don't blame you.
So he brings down this bottle.
Yeah.
And it was George T. Stagg, and this is the original bottle. This is 124.9 proof.
I kept the bottle.
And I tried it, and I about fell out of my seat. You're going from like blue raspberry vodka to something that's 125 proof of just raw bourbon flavor. It did not end well. So like, this was my introduction into bourbon,
Right.
and
You're sure?
it was cool, but it was not a good one.
Yeah.
Just because I was not even remotely prepared for. I got assaulted by whatever was going on in that glass.
And that could be very, very well part of my journey too, that empty bottle. I kept the bottle. That was the very first bottle that I completely overpaid for. I paid $700 for that. That was one, their FOMO got the best of me. Like, I'm never going to get it, so I might as well just pony up and pay it.
Yeah.
Never again, but that's a fact. I'm glad you brought that out. That was fun. All right, the next bottle I got for you, Trenton, is Angel's Envy. Just regular Angel's Envy. And the reason why I bring it out, your mom and I were in Arizona, and you know we do that every once in a while. This is quite some time ago where I really, truly didn't know much of anything about bourbon. We went to an actual bourbon bar / restaurant there in Scottsdale. I had no idea what to ask the lady. She was asking me questions, you know, the waitress and stuff, and I just said, I'm just new. If you can give me something that people, you know, have you ever heard of Angel's Envy? And I said, no, I really haven't. So she goes, well, I think that's a good one for beginners. I said, okay, then bring it on. I remember I did put it over ice, though, because I didn't know what else to do. She asked me to want neat or ice. I more than likely, at that time, I didn't even know what really neat meant, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
So I figured, well, ice sounds good, so let's do that. And to be honest with you, it was pretty decent at that time. That was something I could palate, you know, and so that was legit the first pour that I ever had in a particular restaurant-type setting.
That's cool.
And I knew nothing about it, and I probably overpaid for it, too, at the time.
Well,
more than likely.
I mean, I think that's a good pour for beginners, because this is like what, 90 proof. These bottles are like 86.6. So you usually use like $45-$50 still, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think about $50 or so. Yeah.
Well, a lot of kind of where my palate or experience came into was when you were mixing cocktails.
True.
So like anything that you would mix in a cocktail, usually kind of more of a cheaper option. Yes. So something that I was kind of paying attention to see like, oh, you know, I like this in a cocktail. I might like this neat. Yeah. So these next, I might just try out these 3 because they were all kind of involved in some way or another.
All right.
So the cocktail that you used to make that I love the most and still make was the Amaretto Stone Sour, and you mixed it with the Evan Williams White Label.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So I wanted to make these at home, so I ended up getting like 2 or 3 bottles of these because I think it was during COVID or something, or No, a little bit before that.
Yeah.
So I was mixing.
Cheap, too.
Yeah, it was like
Cheap.
$9 at the time.
$10 or so.
It's gone up a bit since then, but
Yeah.
I was mixing Amaretto Stone Sours all the time. I did the Di Serono and like all that stuff. But I ended up trying this neat one day. And I had probably like 2 or 3 Amaretto Stone Sours at that point. So it wasn't all that bad. So I just kept kind of having little bitty pours of it here and there. And I mean, it was a good bottle for me to kind of start out with, get my feet wet with the whole bourbon thing. Low price, low proof.
Yeah.
This is 80 proof, 100 proof bottle and bond. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Not bad.
All right. I'm going to move on. I'm going to show you, I'd like to show you 2 bottles, but believe it or not, I actually just ran out yesterday of the Wild Turkey 101 bottle. But I'd like to show you both, the Wild Turkey 101 and the Rare Breed. Those are the 2 bottles that were instrumental of taking me down that Wild Turkey trail. As you know, that's probably my favorite distillery. I'm not real happy about some of the pricing on their limited stuff here lately, but that's a whole nother topic for another conversation, another video. But
I'm sure we'll get into it.
But Wild Turkey 101 and Wild Turkey Rare Breed, definitely responsible for my infinity and my love for Wild Turkey, for sure.
Which one did you get the 101 first?
101, absolutely.
When you got the Rare Breed, was it hot to you at the time?
Ice, definitely.
You still do it with ice?
Sometimes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I will do every once in a while. I will pull it out with a block of ice.
Just depends on the mood, huh?
It depends on the mood.
All right. Next one for me, you kind of trotted out a flavored one. I'll trot out this flavored one. This is the Screwball peanut butter whiskey.
I am so glad you brought that out.
We all had a hot minute with this one. You were doing like the Elvis peanut butter old fashions and like all this stuff. And this was probably, apart from this, one of the most used bottles down here for several months at a time.
We were all over it, creating our own cocktails with that peanut butter whiskey. It was lovely. Peanut butter and jelly, the Elvis, peanut butter cup.
I forgot. I think we did a series, and there might be the video. I think the videos are still up there. Peanut Butter Palooza.
Was that Facebook?
It might be YouTube videos.
Oh, maybe.
I think it was just cocktails, because we did cocktails for like 2 years. I think 2.5, 3 years.
Sure.
And we did a video series just on cocktails using the Screwball peanut butter whiskey. That's how much we were digging it down here. So
crazy.
This was one of the ones that really kind of helped me understand the difference in like different aspects of cocktails, what makes a good cocktail. And like, I don't know that I could drink those now because those were way sweet. Go back and watch our first old fashioned cocktail. I think there was an ounce of simple syrup.
There's probably just as much simple syrup as there is spirit in our first videos.
But that's
where we were at the time.
Yeah, you had a flavored one. I had a flavored one. Yeah. I mean, just really
I'm glad
cool.
you brought that up. That was a lot of good memories right there. All right, next one I want to give to you, folks, is the Glenmorangie 10-year. It's a Scotch. I get that. My very first sip of Scotch was a Highland Park Magnus.
Okay.
Never forget it. It was given to me free, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it, and I like trying it now. Maybe I might like it now. I'm not sure. I've never tried it since. I gave it away again. I got given it to me, and I gave it away because I hated it. It was lightly peated.
Okay.
It's not like an Ardbeg or something like that, Trent, but it is lightly peated, so maybe that's what threw me off.
Yeah.
So immediately I said, I don't like Scotch. That's out for me. Well, then I was working in the mill. Justin's here too tonight. He helped us with some tastings we had to do tonight. And we worked together at the mill. Justin, Jay, the electrical foreman, what's his last name? Jay. I'd like to give him credit, but we can't remember. I'm sorry. But Jay, our electrical foreman that was over at the hot tip line, he is truly into Scotch, and he has a very nice collection. And we spoke about it. He was very good with me. And he says, Kurt, the problem is you have to start with just a real tame, non-peated Scotch. You know, try the Glenmorangie 10-year. Just start there and see what you think about that. And it's very non-assuming. It's extremely approachable. But it did get me on my track of really enjoying Scotch whiskey. Of course, now I could sit down with a pour of Ardbeg and be fine with it and like it too. But it would have never even got to that point if I hadn't been, led to this bottle by Jay for the Glenmorangie 10-year.
Well, that's like what, $30-some still?
No, that's cheap, man. 30-some. Yeah, it's cheap.
Good starter. I'm not a big fan, but hey, to each their own.
That's all right.
I wasn't big into rye, and I don't think you weren't either. Kind of towards the beginning when we kind of first started.
True.
I remember you got a Rittenhouse and you dumped it down the drain. because you were not
You
a
said
fan.
that before, but I don't remember that. But I'm not going to discount it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you I did it.
And so I was kind of looking into rye, trying to find a good rye for a cocktail. So I steered away from Rittenhouse because you said it wasn't good. And whatever you said for me at that time, I was like...
Guess what's back there right now?
And I like Rittenhouse now. I think it's a great rye.
Yeah.
So still, now to this day, I still love this rye, and I use it for mixing. I pour it. It's a great, versatile one.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a big thing that got me started with ryes, was the Old Forester 100.
Yeah.
Available, really solid, well-rounded.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from... I still think, though, that this might be a little bit easier to jump into the water.
Without question.
Without like... If it was between this and Rittenhouse for like a beginner for a rye, I would still go with this.
I love that one. It has the lower rye content.
Yeah.
You know, it's in the 50s somewhere for the rye content in the mash bill or the recipe for that particular bottle, which I concur with you, that makes it more approachable for somebody that's into bourbon but really have never tried ryes.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're not into ryes yet, maybe give this one a shot. Maybe you were like us and tried Rittenhouse at one point, and it kind of steered you down the wrong fork in the road. But this was a big one, and I still love this bottle.
Yeah. Well, folks, I'm just gonna. My journey is probably different. A lot of it. I know a lot of folks. I had an event last night, and it was a bourbon tasting, and it was a charity event for a fallen veteran, a veteran who passed away, and unfortunately at a younger age and left his family. And so we did an event there, a charity for him. But a lot of those folks are dead set bourbon, buddy. It's bourbon or nothing. Just forget it. Because I brought a couple other things just to kind of, you know how I am.
You like to stir the pot?
No, it's not stir the pot. I just enjoy all different kinds of whiskeys, and that's me. So I want to let you know. I want to show you the very first bottle that I ever bought of American single malt that I thought was dead flat, ridiculously good, was this Stranahan store pick. This stuff, I'm sure this isn't the same one that I had at the beginning. This is a triangle store pick. And if you see these things around anywhere, they are dynamite. I mean, just dynamite. And I've been working all year, this year, trying to collect different American single malts so that we can get into that. I might get into that in January too, some single malt shows.
I love that.
American single malt, fastest growing spirit in the United States, American single malts. So, Stranahan's, if it wasn't for that bottle, I wouldn't be down that path either.
Yeah, that. I'm getting into single malts still. I think that's a really solid bottle, and it's a store pick, right? So it kind of depends on the barrel that they
price
picked
points,
in.
$50 or so.
Yeah, it's
not
good.
too
And
bad.
It's cask strength, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
You no doubt.
Well, as you guys know, I'm a little bit of a Beam fan, and I kind of started with Beam in a way. This was like the first bourbon that I got as a recommendation to just pour neat. This wasn't a recommendation for a good bourbon in a cocktail. I was reading at that point like the Death & Co. cocktail books, and it was like Elijah Craig 94, small batch for cocktails, Old Granddad 114, that kind of stuff. And I knew at that point like 114 sounded a little bit hot to me. So I was like, yeah, maybe I want to steer away from that. But I was looking for this, and I was actually at King Richard's in Michigan City. And I saw that they had a Knob Creek. It was like the 2001 celebration or like anniversary or something. And it was like $100 and some bucks. And I was like, I don't really want to spend that much. So I went with the 9 instead. Okay. They didn't have the 12. Otherwise, I probably would have gotten the 12. But still, fantastic bottle. Great starter. Again, great to pour, great to mix in a cocktail. Yeah. Neat pour on ice, whatever suits your fancy. But this is really solid.
And that's
one of my first ones.
And that's been one of your. It remains to be one of your more favorite budget bourbons out there.
Yeah,
to this
top
day.
3 for sure.
To this day.
Yep, yeah, for sure.
That's cool. All right, last but not least, you got another one. All right.
I have a story, and I think you know the story.
All right, I'll let you finish up with your story, pal. The last one I got, of course, it's another variety of whiskey. I got a Japanese whiskey. This is a Hibiki Harmony. I put this up here because this is the only Hibiki that I have left is the Harmony. But I did have a 21-year-old and I did have a 17-year-old, and those were just, I'll never buy them again, I'm sure, because they're just super expensive. But I have so many good memories, and it was just such delightful sips from those particular bottles. One of my sons, Corey, and I, every time he would come over, we would sit down with a little pour of the 21-year. I think between him and I, we probably drank 2/3 of the bottle through the years. You know what I mean? But I just loved it. It kind of opened up a little bit of my world in Japanese whiskey. I'm not knee deep into it. But, that Hibiki, I could not leave out the Hibiki line out of my personal story.
Yeah.
There's just so many fond memories and just so much, good love that came out of those Hibiki bottles that I had. So I had to trot out a Hibiki for you.
Well, last but not least, I had a story about Blantons. And this is the straight from the barrel. You don't have a regular one right now, so I'm gonna use this as an example.
I don't.
Mine though was just a regular single barrel. I had been looking for one of these because everybody hears about Blantons, so I had been looking for one for a while. And I was one of those noobs that was going to a store, being like, "Hey, do you have any Pappy?" Like I didn't know that it was an annual release, and the look on these people's faces when I would ask that was just like, "Just get out of the store, pal! Like, come on, really? You're asking these types of questions?"
I love it.
But I didn't know, so I kind of learned the hard way. But it was 2018, and it was Christmas Eve day, and I was sleeping. It was like 9 o'clock. Michelle was sleeping, and I think it was Kent texted. Kent
for sure.
called me. I didn't answer, so he called Michelle to tell me that there was a Blanton's at Trail Inn in Valpo.
Uh-huh.
And I was dead asleep.
You were.
And I was up and in the car in less than a minute flat.
It's hilarious to listen to Michelle tell this story. Too bad she's not here because she could embellish on it.
And I don't think I've ever moved that fast in my entire life. But
Not in the morning for him. This cat, no.
No, you tell me about Blanton's, I'm all in. So I was going probably a little bit too fast on the highway. And I got to the store and I walked in. Real nice lady. It was the owner's grandma. And I went up.
Sweet lady.
Oh, she was the sweetest. I went up to her and I was like, "Hey, I heard you guys might have had some Blantons. I was wondering if they're still available." And she's like, "Oh, honey, we just sold it 5 minutes ago." And I just deflated. I might as well just dropped on my knees and cried right on the carpet in the store. So I was like,
We've all been there. We've all been there.
So I was like, well, shoot. So I went to another store up north side of town in Valparaiso. It was actually Triangle. And I went in and I was like, well, what are the odds they got some too? So I was walking around and I didn't see any. So I asked the lady and I was like, hey, I know that Trail got Blanton's. Did you guys by chance get one? And she's like, did you call us on the phone about it? And I was like, no, I just came in from Trail. And she's like, she looked at me like I was like real sus.
Like you're going to double up on it?
Yeah, something. And she's like, go ask the lady up front at the counter. And I was like, okay. So I went up, and then she just slaps the last one right down in front. It was like $59.99 or $54.99.
$59.
And I handed her my ID. She looked at it for what felt like an eternity. I went in my car, and fireworks went off. Man, it was wild.
It was like a great day, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I went home and I opened it on Christmas, and like I found out then like this was mostly hype, but it's cool. I still have the first bottle from.
Do you?
4 or 5 years ago.
That's pretty cool.
And it's the date and everything. And it's got T on it for my initials, my initial, which was kind of neat. But
very neat.
A little bit overhyped, but there's a cool story behind it. My first allocated bottle, the story and everything that came with getting it, and it was a cool experience.
You're the allocated king.
I'm not.
Well, I hope you enjoyed. It was just fun.
Yeah.
For me, and hopefully for you too, Trent, reminiscing about some of our crazy stuff on our journey. What I like, if possible, if you can give us maybe just even one, but if you have 4 or 5 bottles that were very influential in your particular journey in the comments, it's going to be a huge variety.
Oh yeah,
it's going to be a massive variety. But what's super cool about that is this whole idea of bottles that are influential in our journey is extremely individualistic.
Yeah.
So it's yours. Claim it. Be proud of it. I mean, is this super cool for me to say that I actually bought a flavored whiskey because I had no idea what else I was doing on the very first bottle I ever purchased? Not really. That's not too macho, but it's me.
Macho.
That's what I did.
I think it's cool.
Yeah, that's what I did.
I don't know if you have any pictures of your bar, like when you first started. Do you?
Yeah, I do have a couple, but they were probably 40 or 50 bottles on it by then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Send me that if you can. I found a picture of mine when I first started. There's like 10, 15 bottles in it. And that's what I was using to drink. I was using that for cocktails, everything. There's anything. There's Irish, there's vodka, there's raspberry gin up there. There's a little bit of everything. And that's kind of where I started. So it sucks that you can't put videos in YouTube comments. It'd be interesting to see people's they're the start of their bars or anything.
If
you're in our Discord, toss them in there. We'd love to see what how you got started.
Yeah. All right, that's all we got for today. Thanks so much. Appreciate you allowing us the time to share and reminisce with you. That was just loads of fun. So, as always, we ask you to please drink responsibly, and we'll see you next time right down here with Trent and me in the good old basement bourbon bar. See you later.